Hello, everybody, and welcome into Saw is War. My name is Dustin, and it is a great day to talk about wrestling because we are 1 week away from AEW's All In 2 at Wembley Stadium. And on the WWE side of things, we continue to build towards Bash in Berlin, which is lining up to be a absolutely stacked card from top to bottom. So there's a lot to cover today between everything going on in both companies. We will start, as always, with WWE and then run through that week, and then hit AEW as well, and with some matches to watch in case you missed them, and send everybody out into the week, hopefully ready to have a great week and enjoy some great professional wrestling. So let's do it. On Monday Night Raw, the predominant story continues to be this Judgment Day 2.0 versus Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest, their mega stardom, Priest hitting those unbelievably new babyface highs for him. It's been incredible to see, especially after how critical a lot of people were about his booking as a champion, and maybe not even his booking as the champion, but his performances. You know, he had a couple infamous spots in basically each one of his defenses until the last one against Gunther. But he is someone who has really grown into this role and has become a much bigger star than I ever would have guessed or imagined. But now that I'm seeing it, I don't know how I was never this convinced that he would be a top guy like this. I think he's a clear example of someone that has benefited from not only Triple H's booking and the emphasis on cohesion in creative booking now, but the brand split and having some of those top guys go over to Smackdown, giving him a chance to really grow into this role on Raw because he's not forced down the card by, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, all of those guys. Like, the fact that Priest has had this time has been a real, I think, key to this development. So as you can imagine, most of Raw is built continually around this Judgment Day story. And this week, it was announced that we will have a mixed tag team match at Bash in Berlin with Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest taking on Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan. Again, I don't know how heel Dom turned heel more, but that dude is just, he's cooking on another level right now. And if you saw Dominic Mysterio on Logan Paul's podcast, which I did not watch, but I saw clips, I don't know how they're going to keep this man a heel. That dude was roasting Logan Paul. Every chance he got was about, like, Japan, wear the hat. You'd get so much heel heat if you wore the hat in Japan, bro. Like, unbelievable. He just kept bringing it up. It was incredible. And if that's not, like, one day he's gonna be this smart-ass face that everyone loves, like, that's it right there. And it's hard to fathom right now because he's getting booed out of arenas where, like, it feels like every single person in the building, all of the staff, all of everyone is booing him and hating him. I think it just means when he finally does turn babyface again, he might rival that Roman Reigns return that we've been seeing the last couple of weeks. Like, who knows? He might just become the guy. It's crazy to see, but that tag match at Bash in Berlin is going to be a lot of fun because this is 4 stars that are absolutely on fire right now. And with those overseas crowds, I think it's just a recipe for this to be just so much more fun than it probably has any right to be. And fresh off his domination and destruction of Seth Rollins, much to the approval of the roaring crowd last week on Raw, Bronson Reed claimed his next 2 victims of multiple tsunami splashes and beatdowns with The Miz and R-Truth. I don't know, it's a little weird to go from he destroyed Seth Rollins, one of the top guys on the show, to he beat down a tag team that hasn't really been like a primary focus, but it keeps him in front of the fans. It keeps the fans going crazy for him continually attacking these guys over and over and over and looking like a badass. And, overall, I think this is just another step in the right direction. What is a little more unclear than the Bronson Reed beatdown and where they seem to be taking him is what's going on with the New Day and Odyssey Jones and the Final Testament group. And this story has gone on so long, but Odyssey Jones is a new wrinkle that was added to come to the aid of the New Day 2 weeks ago, and since then it has looked like Kofi Kingston is ready to accept him with open arms, and Xavier Woods is a lot less enthusiastic to do so. And the story they're telling now that they've kind of like only really hinted at through I think Cross said it in one of his promos, is like Odyssey Jones is being used to replace Big E, and Kofi's fine with it because he doesn't care and Woods cares, so he's got a problem with it. And it's really weird because it's such a sensitive subject. So like the story needs to really have a lot of like nuance to it because people really love Big E, and you know there's a really strong chance that if you listen, if you listen to Jonathan Coachman, he's already, you know, he's done. He's never coming back, and you know that sucks. He was one of the most beloved baby faces on the roster when he got hurt. So for him to just have it taken away like that and to just suddenly, you know, go from being a fixture every week on the show to gone, it's rough. And so to introduce this, maybe we're going to replace him, maybe this is the breakup of the New Day, maybe like to do all of it with Big E as an off-screen character is crazy. So now we have a 6-man tag match set for next week's Raw with the Final Testament taking on the New Day and Odyssey Jones, and it certainly is looking like this is going to be an Xavier Woods heel turn and the breakup of the New Day after 11 plus years as a team together. I hope that's not the case, because not just for the historical implications and how good the New Day has been for how long, but I don't see the path for either of them outside of the New Day. Like, Kofi was a world champion and then they fed him to Brock Lesnar and he lost it in 10 seconds. And Xavier Woods won the King of the Ring and then they did nothing with it. Like, I'm all for giving these guys a bigger stage and a bigger opportunity, and with new creative in charge and a new regime at the head of WWE creative, there is a really good chance that either of them could be booked a lot differently. But I don't really necessarily think that their booking could be so different that it justifies breaking up one of the biggest tag teams ever, one of the best tag teams ever, in a story like this. Like, it just, I don't know. It feels like it's so obvious that it's not going to happen. Like, they're making it so obvious that Xavier Woods is going to turn on Kofi and on Odyssey Jones that I almost think, you know, something else is going to happen to swerve us. It's either going to be Kofi turns or Odyssey Jones turns and lays out both of them and is like, yeah, no, I don't care. Like, I don't know, but it's really an interesting spot for the New Day, and it's nice to see them involved in something so, you know, topical and such a prominent part of the show. I just kind of wish it was done a little bit differently as opposed to, like, kind of shoved into these last 2 weeks, because, like, Karrion Kross has been talking and feuding with the New Day and, like, trying to hint at this, like, stuff about a split for months now, and, like, for this to finally come into the picture just feels like it's late in the story to add something so huge to it, if that makes sense. But overall, another strong episode of Raw. Tuesday NXT, I think, continues to probably be the best weekly show. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen when they start hitting arenas and move to the CW, because they are just kind of firing on all cylinders right now, and I mean that in just about every possible way on the show. So this week we opened with a promo between Ethan Page and Joe Hendry, where Joe Hendry announced that he wanted a shot at Ethan Page's NXT title. This led to a surprise attack from Wes Lee on Joe Hendry, and later in the night a triple threat #1 contenders match was made, where next week Joe Hendry will take on Wes Lee and Pete Dunne in a triple threat match, with the winner getting a shot at the NXT title at No Mercy, which this is one of those rare triple threat matches where I don't care who wins. Like, I'm cool with seeing any of these matches. I'm cool with any of these guys being put in this position. It kind of feels a little bit like we know what's going to happen. It feels like this is a Joe Hendry win because you get Zach Wentz attacking Wes Lee and you get Trick Williams costing Pete Dunne. Who knows? I'll get to that when the show comes and predictions and everything, but this is one of those triple threat matches where any of these guys can win, and I would be 100% convinced that any of them would have a wonderful match with Ethan Page and just put on an absolute banger. So I really enjoy how they're integrating Joe Hendry into this NXT&A crossover so much, and the fact that he continues to just get the biggest ovations is really cool to see. He is a dude who is absolutely riding the wave right now. I'm really happy to see all of his success, all of his crossover success, and just all of his prominence. He's popping up everywhere right now. He's definitely taking advantage of the opportunities. And, you know, I'm sure on one hand it's a grind. Like, he just pops up everywhere. But on the other hand, it's really cool to see him embrace the reaction that he's been getting, and to see, you know, how much it means to him. Elsewhere on the show, Wes Lee took the mic in an attempt to explain what had happened and why he turned on Trey Miguel and Zach Wentz, the Rascals. And I still don't really like this heel turn. I don't like that the whole crux for this heel turn is that Zach Wentz got fired. And that being equated to abandoning Wes Lee and leaving him there. And it was also weird because there was a line in it where he talked about like, yeah, you guys go work for TNA and I'll stay here in WWE. Like, I'll stay here, you know, doing stuff that matters. Like, and it was a weird, like, shot at TNA being like a secondary promotion compared to WWE. And it just felt like such an odd thing in the middle of this, like, hugely successful collaboration between the two companies. So it was just, maybe I'm just hyper focused on it because this heel turn just kind of hasn't worked for me this whole time so far. But it really, really stood out as a weird choice to include. Then he called out Zach Wentz and challenged him to a match at No Mercy, which kind of feels weird to have him, like, balancing two gigantic storylines at once. So he breaks up the Rascals. He demands a match with Zach Wentz because he says, I know you're going to come attack me, so let's just do this. Smart, which I appreciate the smart booking and the logic there. But then he comes out and is like, I should be in the NXT title scene. Like, get me in a match. Let's do this. And so now he's got a match next week for the number one contendership. He's got a challenge out to Zach Wentz. It just feels like they're doing a lot. And I don't know if they're doing a lot in the name of, like, we really have to rush to make sure we establish that he's a heel, and we need to, like, get this going fast so fans don't have time to be, like, upset and disappointed by it. But it's so interesting to me. It's just such an interesting timing. Such a weird person to pick to turn heel. Like I've said before, Wes Lee just seems like the most likable person. Like, knowing everything he's overcome and seeing his work ethic and his commitment to wrestling and and the man, he wrestles an unbelievably entertaining style on top of all of that. Like, he is made to be like a great get behind me type babyface. So we'll see what happens as that continues to unfold. I'm just not 100% convinced quite yet. And then at the main event, we have new NXT Tag Team Champions. Chase U defeated Nathan Frazier and Axiom. Ridge Holland and Andre Chase are the new tag team champions, and all of Chase U celebrated in the ring at the end of the show, including Duke Hudson and Riley Osborne, who have both been very skeptical of Ridge Holland since all of this has started and since his involvement with Chase U has started. And I kind of, like, don't know where this is going. Like, someone is like turning on the group at some point, I would imagine, because Ridge Holland getting dropped into Chase U like 2 weeks after being like, I'm walking away from wrestling because I keep hurting people. It just feels too, like, sudden to not get called back to. So I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop when I'm watching Ridge Holland and Chase U segments. Like, you're just waiting for the moment where, you know, two of the guys kick him out and turn heel, or he turns heel and betrays everyone. I really don't know. It's such a weird addition. It's such a weird combination to the chemistry of Chase U, which was already one of NXT's, like, biggest, most prominent factions. So this whole dynamic is just so interesting, and to see them ride it all the way to the tag titles is very cool for a dude like Andre Chase to get this moment again and to get back to the top of the division. But I really keep, like, holding my breath waiting for, like, what's going to happen next. And I don't know if that's impatience on my part, if that's a sign of a great story, if it's something else. But all I can say is every week I'm interested to see where they go. And that kind of is my entire NXT experience. Like, I don't love every match. I'm not, like, glued to my TV watching every single thing. But more often than not, the presentation is something that I really enjoy. And then on Smackdown, after a lot of rumors and a lot of speculation about what was going on, we had a shocking ending to the show with Jacob Fatu coming out and just absolutely whooping ass on Roman Reigns to close the show. There was so many rumors about Jacob Fatu being held off of television to like avoid the Roman Jacob Fatu crossing before, too early on. They were saving that for a special moment. Jacob Fatu is hurt. All of these things were going around. No one knew the severity of his injury. No one knew if that was a real injury, or if they were just trying to, find a reason to keep them apart. No one knew anything. It was so much rumor and so much speculation going around. And SmackDown, like 2-3 days later, after all these rumors start to really heat up, in the main event segment, Roman Reigns comes out, and it looks like it's going to be a repeat of SummerSlam, where he comes out and decimates the entire Bloodline, it looks like it's going to be a repeat of SmackDown last week, where he comes out and takes out the entire Bloodline, doesn't say a word, and the crowd goes insane. And instead, after taking out Solo, he gets attacked from behind by Jacob Fatu in a walking boot, who then just beats him down until the rest of the Bloodline 2.0 can lay Roman out with a huge powerbomb through a table to end the show on top with their ones in the air. It was unbelievable. If they were saving Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns for a moment and then audible to just do it now and catch everyone off guard, more hats off to him, more props to him. This was unbelievable. Jacob Fatu, if the Bloodline 2.0 has been built to make stars out of all of these guys, it will be considered a success just for how they have presented Jacob Fatu and just what an absolute world beater he has looked like just an absolute instrument of destruction. I have loved every second of the Jacob Fatu experience in WWE. He, in a walking boot, is the definition of all vibes. It's just all aura, all vibes. Jacob Fatu in the walking boot throwing a beat down on Roman Reigns after Roman Reigns single-handedly took out all of the other members of the Bloodline last week is a beautiful hint at, Jacob Fatu being the one that Roman is going to have problems with. It's interesting story building for what that's going to do to the dynamic of this Bloodline 2.0. And it also kind of really raises the stakes and says, in a way, Roman is not going to beat everyone on his own. He is going to need help. What is that story of Roman trying to make amends and go get help going to look like? So it was a huge ending to SmackDown, which was another really good SmackDown. We have new number one contenders to the Bloodline's tag team titles. It is the Street Profits who beat DIY in a very good match, where the Street Profits, finally get some consistent TV time. They're going to be the number one contenders. Who knows if they're going to win? If this is going to be something where Roman costs the Bloodline or something, who knows? But either way, I'm so happy to see the Street Profits back in a prominent spot like this, because those guys are too talented, and the WWE tag team division has been, too weirdly jumbled on SmackDown to not have them in a top spot. So in a perfect world, in my dream world, they win the tag team titles, but for now I will be very happy with them getting this prominent spot and going and hopefully putting on an insane match with the Bloodline. You can only hope that Jacob Fatu is healthy and we get to watch them wrestle Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga instead of Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. So we will see, but I'm very happy to see those guys back on the winning side of things and back being in these top main event type matches. And then also we've got the weirdest opening to a SmackDown. They had a celebration. Tiffany Stratton threw a celebration for our new SmackDown Women's Champion, Nia Jax, who came out in this all white outfit with a crazy crown that looked like Lord of the Rings type. Pretty Deadly was there, and they sang and were awkward, and it was all just almost absurdly funny. It was such a surreal, absurdist type of segment that ended with Michin, aka Mia Yim, coming out and beating everyone up with kendo sticks, and a lot of people online were like, why Michin? Really? We're gonna use Michin? And it's okay, well, people complain about, needing new stars to be built up and giving people opportunities, and then as soon as that happens, As soon as the hint of that happens, it is a problem. I'm going to just start putting in the Daniel Bryan Fickle clip every time something like that happens, where an internet fan base contradicts themselves. No, I'm kidding. That would be the entire show. Like, that's all it would be all the time. It's the internet wrestling community is a crazy one. It is the Wild West out there. But I'm all for Michin getting a high profile spot like this, because she had a great run in NXT this last time, feuding with Jada Parker, and those crazy matches that they had where they just beat the shit out of each other. Like, if you did not watch any of those matches that Mia Yim had in NXT, like, she was out there. She was putting it on the line for love of the game. Like, it was unbelievable. So to see her come back and to get into this, she's probably not going to beat Nia Jax. Like, I don't think people have to worry about that. Not that they are, but I think she's going to be a good, viable challenger that's going to pull some really good matches out of Nia Jax and kind of help her start this title reign off on such a positive foot, instead of it just being everyone sits around and waits for Tiffany Stratton to, knock Nia Jax out with the briefcase and cash in, and there we go, it's Tiffy time. Like, if everyone was just waiting for that, it would be a disservice to Nia Jax and the work that she has put in since returning to the company. So I really think Michin makes a lot of sense there from that standpoint. And I'm excited to see what those guys are going to do. And I think that's everything for the WWE side of things. So let's hit the AEW side and see what is going on over there a week before their next big pay-per-view, All In at Wembley Stadium. Over on AEW, they continue to build momentum towards All In, which is looking like it's going to be another massive show for AEW, both in terms of scope and in the card length. And this Dynamite really was probably top to bottom the best Dynamite in this build to All In. I really think a lot of it was laid out well. The pacing was really strong, which is something that I've sometimes had issues with, where, the first segment's great, the last segment's great, and then everything in between is a little hit or miss and kind of like, okay, why'd that happen? This was a very strong show. Even if some things don't work for me, like the story that they're telling for MJF and Will Ospreay in this build towards the international or United States, whatever championship you want to call it, if you want to call it the MJF version or the international title, seems to be built around Will Ospreay not wanting to hit the Tiger Driver 91 after injuring Bryan Danielson with it at WrestleDream earlier this year. And it's come up a couple times. It's kind of usually been like and now with it as a prominent point of the story, it's just kind of weird. Like, MJF just like spit in your friend's face and beat his ass to the point of like he was a bloody mess. And the logic there isn't really sound either, because Kyle Fletcher didn't want to hit that guy with a screwdriver at the same time, which is kind of a little odd. Like, hey, this guy just spit in your face. Be the bigger man. It's just a little odd logic gap there, but Ospreay does not want to hit the Tiger Driver. He is selling it online on Twitter. He's saying, nope, it's too dangerous. No, you can't protect yourselves from it. I don't know if this is building towards a moment where he loses it and just says, all right, YOLO, send it. We're doing it. I'm going to hit MJF with this shit. Let's go. And if that's the case, then cool. If it goes on past this and like he loses this match because of it, I think it's going to probably be like, okay, we can probably, speed this up and resolve this now. Because no one wants to, I don't watch Will Ospreay wrestling matches and stories for like one specific move to be the emotional fulcrum of a 60-minute match or anything like that. Like, I appreciate that he's seemed to really put a focus into his in-ring storytelling since coming to AEW. I think a lot of the criticism that gets levied at Ospreay is a little unfair, because he just does cool stuff. And like, if I was a wrestler and could do all of the cool things that Will Ospreay does, I would do all of the cool things that Will Ospreay does. That's why I enjoy watching him wrestle. We already know that the All-In main event is going to be Swerve Strickland defending the AEW Championship against Bryan Danielson in what was already probably one of the most anticipated matches of the year, but has just continued to steadily build heat as Swerve has kind of fallen back into that unhinged, ruthless heel character that he was before this face turn that kind of just organically happened. AEW continues to play off of all of this and build on all of it pretty flawlessly. There was a segment this week that was a musical montage tribute to Bryan Danielson's career set to Good Riddance by Green Day. I don't know if Tony Khan had just watched Deadpool and Wolverine, or if he was feeling nostalgic for Green Day because they're on tour right now. I don't know, but it was a really like it's easy to say like what a corny like ham-fisted type thing like to use that song for the career retrospective when the stipulation is, you know, his career might end. And this is an example of something where like all signs are pointing to Danielson losing and retiring and that being it. And I think people aren't really like ready for that. Like I think the suddenness of that, with it being only a couple weeks away at the time of the announcement of the stipulation, I think that's really thrown people off. And I think that's been one of the biggest strengths of this entire storyline, is the realization that like, oh, we might not get a John Cena-ass farewell tour for Bryan Danielson, like the best wrestler of his generation, if not, you know, of all time, might just be done in 2 weeks. And like I think they've really done a good job with this story of playing into that. Plus you bring in Swerve's star power, and you bring in Danielson's ability to lie and tell good stories, and it's pretty clear that there are 100 directions that they can go with this story, and I think that's a huge benefit to them, because when the bell rings at Wembley, I don't think anyone's going to have any idea what's going to happen and how this is all going to unfold. I kind of lean towards there's no way it's going to happen like this. Like, they're being so obvious that there's no way it can happen. But it's Bryan Danielson. And at the end of the day, if he wants to put over Swerve and he's ready to call it a career, then, you know, he's earned that. He's more than earned that right. So we will see. But they have been continuing to build to that as well as you possibly could. Like, it was already going to be an incredible match, but the stakes and the emotion that they've continued to add around it is just really charging it up, and you know that crowd is going to go absolutely insane for basically every single part of this match. Across the AEW world on Rampage and Collision, it was announced that the Young Bucks will defend their tag team titles at Wembley Stadium in a triple threat match against the Acclaimed and FTR. This is after FTR intervened in the Acclaimed's title match on Wednesday on Dynamite, which was the Young Bucks' first title defense since winning the tag team titles, which is kind of, you know, not a good look for the state of tag team wrestling in AEW. But I have a larger video on that in AEW and WWE coming at some point, because I've got a lot of thoughts about just kind of what's happened to tag team wrestling in the last 6 months or so. But I don't know what's happening with this match. I don't know. Like, I know the Young Bucks are celebrating 20 years as a tag team, and I know that they have tons of fans, FTR, tons of fans, Acclaimed, tons of fans. But if you just go off of the internet, you would think that, like, these are the 3 worst teams in wrestling. And, like, I just get the feeling that there is so much fatigue around all of these teams and these combinations of matchups. And it's a shame, because you think about how hot the Acclaimed was when they won the Trios tag team titles with Daddy Ass, or you think about, you know, 2 years ago before the Trios run, where they were the hottest tag team in AEW and maybe in all of wrestling. Like, they were untouchable. FTR as well. Like, they are such a dependable, good. You know you're getting a good match with an FTR match. Like, you know, but like everything's kind of just worn thin, because it's just been rotated through these 3 teams, a combination of these 3 teams, almost nonstop. We had the run. Not even the run, but we had the Sting Darby Allin moment in between, where they held on to the titles and then retired. Sting retired and they relinquished the titles. But other than that, it feels like it's been like a rotating like carousel of these 3 teams over and over and over and over again in some combination. And I think people are just kind of getting a little tired of it. So I'm interested to see what the match looks like at Wembley and what direction they decide to go, because if it's just the Young Bucks hold it more and don't defend it for another 3 months or 4 months, then like that doesn't help anybody. That doesn't help the division. It doesn't help any of these teams, and it doesn't help any of the teams that are, you know, trying to build themselves up and make a name for themselves. So I really don't know. This feels like the safest, like, okay, we need to get these guys all on the card. We need the Acclaimed Max Caster rap to start, and we need that at Wembley Stadium. We need FTR and the Young Bucks. Like, so it feels like it's like kind of like a let's play it safe and get these guys for what we know will be a good match, but it just feels like a missed opportunity to me. I don't know, and maybe I'm just too online. Like if this sounds like one of your most anticipated All In matches, please let me know. If you're listening or watching this and you love any of these teams and are really excited for this match, please hit the comments. Let me know. I have an email address in the show description, show notes, and all that. Feel free to send anything there too. I want to see what the reaction is like actually, like not just living online. We also got the announcement that there's going to be a 4-team, 12-man trios match there's going to be a 4-team, 12-man ladder match for the trios titles at All In. We have 3 of those teams announced, with one still waiting to be crowned. I believe it is going to be this week on Dynamite. They will get added in. The teams so far are the Patriarchy and Christian Cage, the Bang Bang Gang, and the House of Black, which already sounds like it's going to be an awesome match. Like, just those guys in a ladder match. Like, it's going to be Brody King in a ladder match is going to be something unreal. Like, because that dude is always unbelievable in those big spots. And it feels a lot like this 4th team was supposed to be Death Triangle with Pac and the Lucha Bros. But all of their contract stuff, who knows if they're going to, be a part of this or not. Maybe it's too much negative attention. Maybe it's, their contracts are expiring soon and they just don't want to utilize them. So I'm interested to see what this qualifying match or whatever the process is to announce this 4th team. I hope it's them, because I think it could be a hell of a swan song for the Lucha Bros if they are going to WWE, as the rumors are pretty, hotly suggesting. But either way, this is going to be an incredible, probably show-stealing match with these guys all involved. Shout out to Dustin Rhodes, who is now Dustin 2 Belts, who is holding the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team titles with the Von Erichs, and just won the Ring of Honor tag team titles with Sammy Guevara this weekend, which is an odd combination of wrestlers. Like, what an odd team to put together, but still very happy to see him at, I think, 55, 56 years old, putting on these big matches and having these big moments. And I think this is a fitting reward for him. I think he has more than earned these spots and these opportunities, because he is someone that is undeniably authentic, I think, anytime you see him. And so shout out to him on all of this recent success, all of that work that he has continued to put in, all of the crazy matches he has put on in his time in AEW. It's really cool to see him get these types of moments and this acknowledgement. And then lastly, what I think was the most entertaining thing across AEW programming this week was a pre-taped message from Eddie Kingston on his couch as he continues to recover from massive leg surgery. He did not even give a timetable in the video. He just said he's got a long way to go. But the video was all about Bryan Danielson and what the hell am I seeing on my TV? This is not Bryan Danielson. I don't know who this is. You got to go find that fire, buddy. You got to get out there and get in there and whoop ass and come on. Like, don't be this. Don't be a punk. Don't be punked out by Swerve. Like, it was incredible. It was incredible stuff to see Eddie Kingston from his couch with one foot up, like, just absolutely putting on and still being one of the best promos on the show. So if you've not seen that video segment, I cannot recommend it highly enough. It was incredible. It was a great clip. I'm sure it's available on AEW social media profiles. But please seek that out if you have not seen it yet. And I think that's everything. Next week, we're going to have the go-home shows for All In. We'll have All In predictions and everything as well coming up. Of course, that is going to be a massive, massive event. We end every week running through a couple of matches that you might have missed, that you need to see before the next week in wrestling starts. So if you have not seen any of these matches, please do yourself a favor and check them out as soon as you get the chance. They are well worth watching, start to finish. Some of the best of the week. I appreciate anyone watching, listening along. Please, like I said earlier, hit the comments, send in an email, anything like that. I would love to hear what you're enjoying in wrestling this week, what's been working for you, what you haven't liked quite as much. Please feel free to reach out and let me know. I appreciate anyone watching, listening, following along. Thank you so much. Have a good week. From AEW Dynamite, we have a triple threat match between Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and Orange Cassidy for the #1 spot in the Casino Gauntlet Battle Royale. Also from AEW Dynamite, we've got Wheeler Yuta versus Swerve Strickland in a non-title eliminator match. And from WWE Smackdown, we have Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes. Thank you guys for watching.